Hello everyone, and welcome to Off-Brand Analyzing Evil, featuring Plankton from SpongeBob SquarePants. A genius megalomaniacal copepod who repeatedly attempted to steal the Krabby Patty secret formula, and would do anything despite his business rival Mr Krabs, even if it meant taking over the world. So in this video, we're going to try and examine what motivates Plankton, why he's so obsessed with a fast food hamburger recipe, and what caused him to become the most destructive character in the SpongeBob universe. Without further ado, let's begin. Most of our knowledge of Sheldon J. Plankton's early life comes from the Season 5 episode Friend or Foe, which follows both Plankton and Mr. Krabs in their childhood, when they used to be close friends. We don't know a lot about Plankton's family life, but it could be assumed that his family was already acquainted with the Krabs family, as he's known Eugene since the two of them were infants. At this time, Eugene's parents couldn't afford clothes for him, and he had to wear a makeshift robe made out of old rags. From this, it could be speculated that Plankton also grew up in poverty, but his family's financial situation is also kept extremely vague. Regardless if Plankton was poor or not, Krabs' situation, as well as the bullying that they both faced during school, motivated them to try and start a business selling burgers. After their first burger poisoned Old Man Jenkins, the two had a falling out over creative differences on how they should change the recipe. After the other school kids ended up preferring Krabs' burger, Plankton swore to spite Mr. Krabs by stealing the Krabby Patty recipe. And it's here that we see Plankton's driving motivation as a character: envy, as everything that he does from this point on is to compete with Mr. Krabs. After this breakup, Plankton would continue his education by going to college, a fact that Plankton often likes to boast about to Mr. Krabs.
I went to college!
It's speculated on what exactly Plankton studied during this time, but my personal theory is that Plankton majored in business to, well, learn how to run his business better than Mr. Krabs. Although it could be argued that he majored in engineering or robotics, as he displays an expertise in these fields. It doesn't make sense why he would brag to Mr. Krabs about going to college for something completely unrelated to running a fast food business. You could say that he's bragging that he merely has a degree when Mr. Krabs doesn't, but remember, Plankton's goal is to make a better restaurant than Mr. Krabs, so it wouldn't make sense that he would pursue an unrelated major in electronics to achieve this goal. Throughout the show, it's very apparent that Plankton has no culinary skills, so it's possible that he thought he could overcome this weakness by bolstering his business management skills. But this obviously didn't work, as the Krusty Krab is still a much more successful restaurant than the Chum Bucket, simply because the Krabby Patty tastes better than anything Plankton can offer. Plankton immediately realized this, and decided to try and steal the Krabby Patty secret formula for himself. If he can't make a product as good as the Krabby Patty, he might as well make his own knockoff version of it, and use his business knowledge to make the Chum Bucket more successful than the Krusty Krab ever was. But in the movie, he goes the extra mile to take over Bikini Bottom, and get Mr. Krabs executed. So it's obvious that at this point, Plankton's motivation became more than just making a successful restaurant. Because of how he was bullied as a child, it's safe to assume that Plankton has felt like an outcast for most of his life. This combined with his intelligence, likely gave him the idea that he is superior to everyone else. He's similar to Squidward in that way, but unlike Squidward, Plankton uses that feeling of superiority as motivation for much more evil and destructive things. Plankton's ego and isolation possibly gave him a resentment towards society, and this hatred for the rest of the ocean would only grow because of Mr. Krabs' success. As we've already established, Plankton has been jealous of Mr. Krabs since they were kids, and seeing the citizens of Bikini Bottom prefer the Krusty Krab over his restaurant made him desire to prove that he's not only better than Mr. Krabs, but that he's better than everyone else as well. From Plankton's point of view, he is more deserving of success than Mr. Krabs. He put in more work to get an education, and he's the smarter of the two. So if the people of Bikini Bottom would rather reward Krabs for his laziness, then they are deserving of nothing more than slavery and destruction. In the movie, he nearly achieves all his goals and then some through Plan Z, a nefarious plot to frame his childhood friend for stealing King Neptune's crown and get him executed for a crime that he didn't commit. This would allow him to steal the recipe for Krabby Patties, so that he could sell them at the Chum Bucket along with mind control helmets that he would use to enslave the rest of Bikini Bottom, and reshape the city into his own twisted vision. Plankton nearly succeeded in this plan, but was stopped through the actions of SpongeBob and Patrick, and he was arrested for his crimes. And at this end, who was Sheldon J. Plankton? He was a resourceful and intelligent single-celled organism who was twisted by ego and envy for his business rival Mr. Krabs. If he had let go of his grudge against Krabs, Plankton could have used his talents in engineering and robotics to go into a field that he would have been more comfortable and successful in. He would have easily made Mr. Krabs envious of him because of all the money that he would have earned from selling his inventions. But instead he pursued fast food out of spite, because he believed that he had to beat Krabs at his own game. And his repeated failure to do so would cause his hatred to fester to the point where he was willing to kill his old friend through wrongful execution, as well as enslave the innocent residents of Bikini Bottom. It's been said that the main cast of SpongeBob were based on the 7 deadly sins, and that Plankton was based on the sin of envy.
That's what's fun about his character and all these characters being connected with the 7 deadly sins, which Steve wanted as a theme for this show.
Did he really?
Yeah, that was
wow. For the whole series, the 7 deadly sins?
Each character represented one of the 7 deadly sins.
Which one am I?
You're karate.
What else?
And it's not hard to see why, as Plankton's story is one that shows how envy can drive some of society's most intelligent and promising individuals down the path of evil.